Alright, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. And today we got a whole bunch of good news stuff for you as usual. And we're going to talk about Bitmain again. They disclosed their hash rate to refute accusations of their hidden mining. But nobody believes it. And the reason is there's been accusations for a long time that every time they come out with a new ASIC miner, that they mine with it for an extended period of time until the profit becomes pretty low, and then they pawn them off on everybody else. Now, I'm not sure if that really goes to say for the S9 miners and the S7 and previous, but it has become pretty apparent that they were doing that with the Kryptonite miners that they came out with, as the Kryptonite difficulty rose for many, many months, some say upwards of a year, and then they pawned them off on everybody just before the Monero devs decided to do a network change to their algorithm. And then, surprisingly, the difficulty dropped of Monero like a stone in water. So Bitmain made another disclosure of the hash rate of its mining machines in a fresh attempt to address accusations that it is capable of controlling the Bitcoin network, through hidden hashing power. Bitmain operates two mining pools, Antpool and BTC Top, and directs its equipment to them. However, some accuse the leading ASIC producer of running brand new machines for months before selling them. So it is really clear, and they admit that they do use their own machines for Antpool and BTC Top. So it's not too far of a stretch to say that they've been doing it with Monero and possibly Zcash. And it's very clear, again, as I said, with the difficulty increase over a year, some people thought it was botnets or hidden ASICs, and then it turns out, oh, we've got these ASICs for sale, and then as soon as the network changes and there's no more ASICs, it bombed out entirely, which leads people to believe that it was not botnets, because it would have came back pretty quick if it was botnets, as just a simple fix to them would have brought the hash rate back. Of course, maybe you would have had to reinfect computers, but again, probably wouldn't take people too long considering they already did it. So they quoted that we've published our transparency policy, for shipping and mining practices. It includes our disclosure of self-mining hash rate for all blockchains that we mine. So for SHA-256 mining algorithm, Bitmain has 1,692 petahash, so basically 1.6 exahash, which is in fact a minuscule part, just around 4% of the current hash rate entirely of Bitcoin. For the entire Bitcoin network, mining right now reaches 45,000 petahash, already a near record level and constantly rising. The results surprised the Bitcoin community, especially since the mining pools organized by Bitmain currently control 35% of the hash rate, and they have solved even more of the blocks in the past. So Bitmain claims that they only control 3% of the total SHA-256 hashing power, which is around 4%, really. They have absolutely no shame in lying to us, let me just say. Don't demonetize me, YouTube, I promise. It just seems that that is kind of a blatant lie, because they were approaching nearly 50% of the hash rate with their two pools. So it says here that it's 35%, but I've read that it is closer to 48%. So clearly there's a big discrepancy there. Even if we just go with 35%, and they're only 4%, and we could say, yeah, well, maybe some people hopped on Antpool and BTC Top, but 35%, there's a huge discrepancy there. If they only have 4%, that means the rest of the world has 31%. I kind of doubt that, considering that they have 1,600, nearly 1,700 petahash, and it would take quite a lot to go beyond that. So another quote here is to avoid confusion with the current Z9 mini shipments. Kindly note that the current shipments are for June 20th, 30th batch, so it takes a long time to get these. And, they're raising the difficulty of tons of different algorithms, and we can see that a lot of developers are now trying to switch away from that. So moving on to the next article, Coinbase inquiry finds no improper BCH trading took place prior to the launch. I kind of doubt this one as well. So it's doubting the news days. Doubting the news days. And because just before Coinbase launched Bitcoin Cash trading, there was this very, very inordinate price increase several days before it, and they also sort of ninja added it. So Coinbase spokesperson has confirmed that the investigations of potential insider trading conducted by two well-known national law firms have come to a close, asserting that no improper trading took place. So after initial scheduling the launch of Bitcoin Cash pairings by the 1st of January 2018, Coinbase's Bitcoin markets abruptly went live during mid-December 2017. The altered date for the introduction of Bitcoin Cash's pairings aroused suspicions that the employees of the exchange who were privy to the launch date may have been responsible for the significant Bitcoin Cash price during the hours preceding the announcement of the Coinbase mid-December launch. In a blog post published on the 20th of December, Coinbase co-founder and chief executive officer Brian Armstrong revealed that the exchange would be launching a legal inquiry into the matter, stating, given the price increase in the hours leading up to the announcement, we will be conducting an investigation into this matter if we find any evidence of any employee, and yada yada. So once this actually occurred on Coinbase, since it was like 10 days or so before the actual launch, they just launched it, and they're like, here we go. They didn't even give like, hey, in an hour we're launching this. It was just on there, pretty much magically, and they were like, hey, it's here, and then they tweeted about it. So that was really weird. And it caused a big problem because a lot of people didn't know about Bitcoin Cash at the time, particularly Coinbase users, because it only had 3 coins at the time. A lot of people thought, hey, look, Bitcoin is at discount right now. We can pick it all up. So it really spiked the price. It spiked it to many thousands of dollars on Coinbase temporarily because nobody could actually sell it. So there was this big liquidity problem. Everybody was buying it, but nobody was really selling it. Everybody was putting it on there, and you could buy it, but you couldn't sell it, which was kind of weird, I know, but it rose the price really, really high. There was massive liquidity problems. It was basically all frozen, and the prices rose to extreme levels, and people bought it for these extreme prices when in no way, shape, or form on other exchanges was it actually that price. So, of course, it had to level out. And a lot of people were stuck high and dry after buying Bitcoin Cash. So it was kind of a very short-term thing. I remember watching it. I remember the price spiking. I think I remember actually seeing $9,000 at one point for a very short period of time. And in no way, shape, or form is Bitcoin Cash worth that much. But nobody could really get rid of it. Nobody could sell it. It was all frozen, and that was a big problem. So they didn't find any improper trading, but I kind of highly doubt that one as well. As it seemed like there was some kind of leak of information because there was this massive spike a little too early before the launch. There's always a spike of a currency price when it is decided that it's going to go on an exchange, when it's scheduled. So that's not unusual, but it was very unusual at the time. The price spiked, just days before, instead of a nice, going up kind of deal, a nice little organic raise, and then they just sort of ninja added it. So now onto futures. Trading volume reaches 572 million on Wall Street. So there is a lot of institutional investment coming. Again, I hate to say it, it's kind of like Game of Thrones. When are the dragons coming? Sooner or later, maybe 3 or 4 seasons from now. It's been said for a long time that investments are coming. But it does look like that is coming pretty soon. Futures trading on Wall Street reached 572 million this Tuesday during the cryptocurrency's bull run. And during the price surge, the most popular crypto coin exceeded 8,000 in value, a barrier not reached since late May 2018. So it's the CME group again, the ones that basically destroyed Bitcoin when it was at 20,000. Now, Bitcoin may have been a bit overhyped, but futures came out, and literally that day it started to bomb. So obviously they did nothing good for Bitcoin. It's pretty objective at this point that on the day that investments and futures launched, Bitcoin went from 20,000, and although it did take a little while to get all the way down to 6,000, 5,000 area, it just immediately bombed, and you can see that on every price chart. It's as apparent as night and day. And so I'm not really too confident that CME, that now people are betting that Bitcoin is going up. And so that's why we've seen this massive price of Bitcoin going up, but not so much the other coins. See, Litecoin is still $84, and now Bitcoin's at 8,000. And you would suspect by now that Bitcoin being at 8,000, that Litecoin should be, well, probably about $100, maybe a little bit more. So that's just not the case. And you can see that Ethereum's still stuck at $466. XRP is down to 45 cents, one of the lowest it's pretty much ever been, at least in recent history, in the good past few months or so. It used to be much lower than that, but you get what I'm saying there. As you can see, it's one of the lowest points. There was a few points a little bit lower recently. But nothing really seems to be moving up that well. EOS still stuck at 832, whereas Bitcoin is the only one that really has seen these massive gains. So that's what leads me to believe that the futures market is now betting for Bitcoin and not against Bitcoin when it was at 20,000. And when you have people that can bet millions of dollars that something is going to go down, let me just tell you that they're going to influence it to go down. You know what I mean? See this wink? See that wink? That doesn't mean anything. Just nudge, nudge. Get what I mean? So at CME Group, Bitcoin futures trading volumes reached 12,878 contracts across all expiration dates, setting up a new record for the exchange. With each contract representing approximately 5 Bitcoin, CME volume was worth an equivalent 64,390 Bitcoin. CME Group and CBOE are the only two U.S. regulated exchanges to list Bitcoin futures. Maybe they meant futures there. Over the first quarter of 2018, CME futures grew. Futures, they keep saying features, but I don't know. CME futures grew over 93%. So this would lead me to believe that Bitcoin is now going up, and I think a lot of other people are starting to put in it as well, as institutional investors will go after Bitcoin first. Now, you might think to yourself, well, isn't there better coins for them to go after for bigger gains? Probably, but they want that brand name. They want that more trusted name. That's what they keep hearing. And of course, in Wall Street futures and investors and stuff, they're not as bright as you might think. They know how to make money, but they probably don't put too much effort into looking at cryptocurrency because it's so volatile. They're already making their millions elsewhere. They don't really need to look into crypto so much. But now that they see the gains, they're in it. They want that brand name. They want that very first named coin. Whenever I talk about Bitcoin with a new person, if I meet somebody or I'm talking to a friend or I'm at a group or a party or anything like that, and cryptocurrency comes up, it's always Bitcoin first. Do you buy Bitcoin? Have you heard about this Bitcoin thing? Bitcoin, because it is the brand name. It's just like, may I have a Kleenex? Well, really, you want to blow your nose with a tissue, but you say Kleenex. A lot of people, at least in America, say Kleenex because it's the brand name. It's the number one tissue. It's kind of like saying, hey, I need to clean my windows. Do you have any Windex? Well, you don't really mean Windex. You don't clean your windows with Windex. There is no such thing as Windex. It's just the brand name of ammonia to clean windows. So it's just the way it goes. And we're going to see Bitcoin being the top for a long time. But I think Bitcoin one day will be beat out by something because it's just simply not as useful as a lot of other coins. And I hate to say that's almost blasphemy at this point, but it's kind of true in a lot of ways. It doesn't do smart contracts. It's not really anonymous. It's not as fast as other currencies. It's not as cheap as other currencies. It's just a brand name, and that's why everybody's going after it. So let's move on to the next article here. This one doesn't really have too much of an impact on, the price of currency or anything like that. It's just an interesting article. The extraordinary claims came to light as a part of an interview with CEO Sergey Solonin, who told the audience during a Moscow lecture. Let me just bring that back just a little bit. I'm sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. But Kiwi Payment Network CTO mined 500,000 Bitcoins in 2011 before losing them. 500,000 of them, not $500,000 in Bitcoin, but $500,000 worth of Bitcoin, but $500,000 in actual Bitcoin, 500,000 Bitcoins. He said it during a Moscow lecture on July 25th that the CTO had used the company's ubiquitous payment terminals to mine Bitcoin. So given the ease of mining on low-powered equipment at the time, combined with Kiwi's network of over 100,000 terminals, profits from the secret operation surpassed 500,000 Bitcoin before Solonin caught on. In 3 months, he mined 500,000 Bitcoin in three months, which were worth 5 million, and at the time, and now they're worth billions. So the revelation comes amid the run-up to Russia introducing formal regulations governing cryptocurrency mining and trading. Holders are obliged to conform to tax regimes governing traditional income. So at present, the trading and mining of Bitcoin in Russia remain gray area activities, with conflicting information from legal experts and authorities on civil obligations. So in the case of Kiwi, however, the stunt would have made the company's CTO wallet the largest in existence, with a current value of $4.1 billion. Just to say that the Satoshi Nakamoto original wallet, not the Genesis wallet. That's something that kind of people donate to, and you can never really get it out. But some of the first wallets that they were mining to, and interestingly enough, it seems that some were mined to tens of thousands of Bitcoin, and some were mined this or that or the other thing. But numerous wallets were created apparently by one person with a ton of Bitcoin in them that has never been moved since. And it is said to be anywhere from 800,000 Bitcoin in total, with between them all, to 1.2 million Bitcoin in total between them all, which is worth many, many billions. So this would have been the largest single wallet, but not necessarily the most Bitcoin held by any one person. And nobody knows if Satoshi Nakamoto is just one person, or if there are many people, or a group of people, or a collaboration of people. But either way, that still remains the most Bitcoin held by any one group or people. So forever lost. So they lost them, and the huge hoard is now allegedly lost forever. How they lost them, the article does not say, but apparently the private keys were lost in some way, which happens all the time. So now this leads me to another topic that I read an article one time. I said it on my channel, that supposedly 4 million Bitcoin have been lost over time. And then you have to also consider that 1 million Bitcoin is sort of stuck in the Satoshi wallets. So that's about 5 million Bitcoin. And at the moment, there's about 17 million Bitcoin or so in existence. So if you minus the lost Bitcoin, we're only at 12 million Bitcoin out of 21 million. So by the time 21 million occurs, which is not for about 120 years, which again, I feel like there will be different technology by then and people will have long forgotten about Bitcoin, because in 120 years in the information age, you know what I mean? Just think 120 years ago, we barely had cars on the road. Electricity was honestly fairly primitive, not even in every city. Most places outside of major cities didn't even have electricity or phones. So you can see the major difference. We didn't even have penicillin. I don't even think sulfonamides were around in 1900. They might have been, but sulfonamides are not really all that great. They cause a lot of problems with a lot of people. But anyway, enough about medicine. You can tell where I'm getting at here. So in 120 years, now that we have iPhones, now that we have computers, supercomputers, this infrastructure in the world, what is it going to be like, right? And so by then, Bitcoin will probably be totally useless. There'll be something totally different. I'd be willing to bet just about everything on the fact that in 120 years, nobody's going to be like Bitcoin. Wasn't that like 100 years ago? There'll be like a Bitcoin in a museum and somebody will have it in a wallet and it'll be worth $1 billion, but inflation by then it'll be worth like $20, So, and maybe if you add this 500,000 Bitcoin that nobody knew were gone, maybe that is included in the 4 million that was calculated. Maybe not. So we could be looking at 5 million, 6 million Bitcoin that are just gone, that are either in wallets that'll never be found, or in lost hard drives, or in lost thumb drives and Trezor wallets or anything like that. Maybe your house burnt down and there goes 10 Bitcoin, something like that. That's the kind of thing we're looking at. So when 21 million Bitcoin are in existence, you need to minus that 5 now. And so, you're looking at like maybe 16 million Bitcoin, and then maybe minus by 120 years, you might be minusing million Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is going to be extremely rare in 120 years. But the question is it even going to be worth anything? Is the network still going to be there? Is people going to be running the nodes? Are people still going to be mining it? You know what I mean? So that's a big question. So now looking at CoinMarketCap here, we're at 292 billion. We were at 299 billion, but we've seen this sort of sell-off, and you can see it just by looking at, you don't even have to look at the exact charts. You can pretty much see it everywhere. There is a massive sell-off going on. And so far, we haven't lost too much. Bitcoin at its height recently here was at about 8,400, and now we're at about 8,000. So a $400 sell-off for Bitcoin is not that amazing, but it is still going down. And people are starting to shed off their profits. They were a little fearful after it went over 8,000. And as you can see here, it kind of just surpassed 8,000 real fast. You can see these quick sell-offs, people trying to sell their coin because they're thinking that it might go back down to 7,000 or even in the 6,000s again. So just keep a watch on the charts. It may be a good time to buy. It may be a good time to wait. But usually the best time is to actually just wait for the trend to change. So if you think to yourself, if this is a good time to buy, and you could buy and it could keep going down. And even if this is the bottom, it's risky to buy right now. And once you see it going back up, that's when you buy. And that's usually like the least risky time to buy. Once it's actually going back up and you recognize that trend change, and not just an immediate change. Oh, it's going back up, I gotta buy. But recognize the change after a day, or at least give yourself. And here's another tip I like to tell myself too: is that when you're day trading, you always want to buy and sell and buy and sell. You want to do it as fast as possible and make as many trades, and that can lead to trouble. You can end up getting yourself stuck when it goes down or when it goes up. So when you're about to make a trade, just tell yourself to wait 20 minutes and set a timer on your cell phone for 20 minutes, or whatever you choose, whatever you feel works best for you. Recognize the trade now. Okay, I want to hit the button. I want to hit trade right now. But stop yourself and set a timer for 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, and then look at the trade and see if you want to buy it. Because a lot of the times, your impatience will get the best of you, and you might make a bad trade. And that's usually a pretty good way to do it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and as usual, I will see you guys next time.